Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so for decades, right, the rules for getting found online were pretty much set in stone by search engines. But now AI is just ripping that playbook to shreds. We're going to dive into this huge shift from what we all know as SEO to a completely new world. We're calling it GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll take a quick look back at the old SEO playbook, the world we all know. Then we'll get right into how AI has just completely changed the game. We'll talk about what this new goal, GEO, really is, look at the kind of automated systems you'll need to actually compete, and finally, what all this means for, well, the future of marketing as we know it.
All right, let's kick things off with something we all know, something many of us spent years mastering, good old traditional SEO. You know, back when the objective was super simple and the target was crystal clear.
And for, what, more than a decade, the game was pretty straightforward, wasn't it? Your whole goal was just to rank high enough to win that click. Success? That was easy. You just measured it in organic traffic. And authority, which was basically the currency of the web, well, that was all about backlinks. It was a nice, clear line from the work you put in to the results you got out. And then, generative AI showed up. And look, it didn't just move the goalposts. It's like it tore down the entire stadium. The fundamental way that people find information has been completely rewritten right from the ground up.
Think about how it used to work. Yesterday, right? A user had a question, they'd go to a search engine, get a nice list of blue links, and they'd click through to your website. Simple. But today, that straight line is just gone. Now, a user asks an AI engine a question, and that engine pulls information from all over the place to cook up a direct answer. A lot of the time, that user never even gets a chance to click through to your site.
So this brings us to, honestly, the most critical question for any brand or marketer out there right now. If that click is starting to disappear, how on earth do you win? I mean, how do you even measure success if you can't count clicks anymore?
Well, the answer really forces us to completely shift our thinking. We have to stop obsessing over winning the click and start focusing on something much more fundamental, becoming the trusted source that gets cited inside the AI's answer. And this new strategy, it has a name. We're calling it Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO for short. And let's be clear, this isn't about optimizing for human eyeballs and keywords anymore. Nope. It's about literally engineering your brand's information, your authority, so that the AI models themselves see you as the source of truth.
And if the strategy changes, well, our metrics have to change too, right? So forget about just counting traffic. The new vital signs for your brand's health are things like how often you're cited, the sentiment around those citations, and your overall share of voice in that AI-generated story. The bottom line is this: it's not about how many people visit you anymore, it's about how often the AI cites you.
So this gets us to the new bedrock of digital authority. And look, backlinks aren't totally dead, but the real currency now is something called EEAT. That stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. See, AI engines are being trained to look for and prefer content that can prove it has all four. This is how you show you're not just an answer, you are the answer.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you make this huge shift from SEO to GEO? Let's be honest, it's a massive job. Trying to manage this whole new ecosystem of content, data, and channels by hand, it's just not going to happen. To win in this new world, you're going to need a new breed of automated, intelligent tools.
So let's take a look at a platform like Work FXAI, just as an example of this new way of thinking. It's built not as just one single tool, but as a whole integrated ecosystem, designed to handle both SEO and GEO in this constant loop of analyzing, creating, and getting better. At the heart of a system like this is a really powerful feedback loop. First, it figures out where your brand stands right now, diagnosing its current AI visibility. Then, it gets to work generating and distributing optimized content at scale. But here's the crucial part. It closes that loop by pulling in real insights from your audience to constantly tweak the strategy. The whole system just gets smarter and smarter over time. So the very first step in any real GEO strategy has to be diagnosis. You need to know where you stand. A system like this will analyze your website and spit out a clear, data-backed AI visibility score. So in this example here, a score of 61 out of 100, well, that tells you you've got a decent foundation, but there's definitely some clear room for improvement.
But a simple score on its own isn't enough.
The real value is when you can break that score down. You need to see how you're doing across the key things that matter for AI readiness. Like, how often are you being cited? What's your content authority look like? Are you using structured data correctly? And by comparing that to the industry average, you can see exactly where you need to focus your efforts.
All right, so once you've got your strategy locked in, the system's content generator kicks into gear. It starts creating content for multiple platforms. We're talking blog posts, social media, the works, and then it uses an auto-publish feature to push it out across all your important channels. This just makes sure your message stays consistent and is always on.
And now for the final and maybe most important piece of the loop, making the strategy smarter with real-world data. And I mean going way beyond just traditional analytics. Think about it. An automated agent can dive into places like Reddit, analyze what real people are actually saying in their own words, and pull out sentiment and new topics. That all gets fed right back into your content strategy. It's really about listening to the unfiltered voice of your audience.
I mean, that before picture on the left, that's probably a painful reality for a lot of us, right? Just this chaotic mess of different tools, manual work, and a whole lot of guesswork. The after picture, well, that's the dream. It's about turning all that chaos into one single, smart system that actually listens, learns, and gets better all on its own.
So look, this isn't just about switching out your tools or learning a few new tactics. This is way bigger. This is a fundamental change in what it means to be a marketer. To really succeed here, we have to start thinking about ourselves, our professional identity in a whole new way.
For years, our job title was pretty clear. We were content creators. Our focus was on making really good individual pieces of content. But our new role, it's more like being an ecosystem architect. Yeah, the job isn't just about making stuff anymore. It's about designing and engineering the entire flow of information between data, AI agents, analytics, and of course, actual human beings.
And this visual right here, it just captures the ultimate goal perfectly. The whole idea is to move your brand to the absolute center of the information ecosystem in your industry. You stop being just another stop on the network, and you become the hub. You become the definitive source that's feeding everything else, websites, content, and even the AI agents that are reshaping how the world gets its information.
So let's just end with the one thought that really changes everything. The goal is no longer to win the page. It's really time to stop chasing clicks. Because in this new AI era, the only strategy that's going to last is building the kind of authority, trust, and intelligence that makes you the source.